You ever wonder why people are the way that they are? You ever wonder why people think the way that they think? Well, here's the answer to your questions. This is the Sit Down.
Man. Welcome back. It's been a long little week.
Yes, sir.
Thank you guys for bearing with me and keeping the show rolling in my absence last week, man.
No, it's all good.
But this is probably one of the episodes I've been waiting to do for a minute, man. Because, of course, man, this is the guy who brought me in.
Yes, sir.
You know what I'm saying? We go back way back. From our battles and wars on Facebook.
Yes, sir.
You would think we was mortal enemies, and then we'd
We
be working
started
out
this
later
man
on.
shit.
We'll be working out later on.
Hey, yo,
You know what I'm saying?
funny story with that is one of my homies hit me up when we were going back and forth. Are you trash? And and we started that shit on Facebook a long ass time ago. Be like, oh, you be like, oh, at least I ain't failing. Just be like, oh, like your failing rap career. And like we just go back and forth. Like one of my niggas hit me up, bro.
I forgot about that.
No, bro, one of my niggas, we always went off on that. And one of my homies hit me up,
funny.
man, and was like, he was like, man, Pete, who is this nigga talking shit, bro? I was like, bro, chill the fuck out. I was like, man, I work out with this dude damn near every fucking day. I was like, man, that's one of the homies. I was like, you know, I don't really waste my time going back and forth on the internet with people. So if I do, it's probably because I fuck with you. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, nigga, I'm at home laughing to this whole thing. He was like, oh, no, man, I was just checking, bro, because, you know, I'm like, dog, chill out with the gangster shit, man. It's the internet, bro. Like, I don't know. I just can't take that shit serious. And, you know, if we're not on there to have fun, then we don't know. I make memes of this nigga all the time. I had him with the Winslow, looking like Carl
Genius.
Winslow. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that shit looked icy as fuck too. You know.
I had to share it. Like, I had to put it in the profile.
Oh yeah. Mad likes on that shit too. Everybody thought it was hilarious, man. Like, you know, if you can't have fun with your friends, man, I really don't know what you're living for, man. So yeah, man, we've been at it for a minute.
This track is legendary.
Oh yeah, the diss track, man.
So, like, that's what I was like.
Hey, you didn't tell me it was nice at the time. On the comments, you like, nigga trash. And then the homies came and they was like, well, I know some of your homies battle rap, and I actually went and checked them out, and I was like, damn. I was like, that nigga nice. I ain't gonna lie. You know, I ain't to him on that shit either. I was like, nigga, I'll beat you. Like, you know, that's the rapper mentality, man, where you know, you never. Anything you do in life, you always should feel like you the best. You know what I'm saying? Like when Wayne called himself the best rapper, I didn't feel like he was, but he felt like he was. So I respected him calling himself the best rapper. You know what I'm saying?
Like, can you go in the booth in reality? Like, I might be like the 7th.
Yeah.
Like, there's no way you can actually record what in your mind. I'm like the 7th.
Yeah.
I'm in the 5th.
Yeah, only person that gets 6-man shit is the NBA, man. You know, the top 5 guys is the top 5 guys, right? Because you the starting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but that 6-man could be anybody. So yeah, man, hell yeah, though.
All right, man, but yeah, you know, just like always, man, who is Pert, man? Where you come from? How you come up, man?
Man, I'm originally from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, man. Easy Town. Y'all know what's happening with that, man. The story, man, is, you know, I moved to Texas in 1990, and probably the best move my mom ever made, because growing up in Baton Rouge, during the crack era especially, it was tough, and to, like I always tell people, to see the evolution of the neighborhood at the time, of going from, you know, knocking next door to get some wieners, you know, until moms got the food stamps to get food. You know, that was like the neighborly thing to do. We watched out for each other, we looked out for each other, and then to see the city basically get destroyed and crumbled is one of the reasons why my mom got out, man. And, you know, having our door kicked in and seeing kilos and drive-bys and dead bodies, you know, before I even hit the 5th grade was life-changing, life-altering. And looking at what everyone else, everything that was happening to everyone else, she just decided, you know, we got to get out of there. And she wanted a better life for us. And I think she made the right decision. Tough decision, because as a kid, I didn't really understand it. But looking back at it as we got older and I started to have like real conversations with my mom and stuff like that, she just kind of reiterated what I already thought in my mind was happening. But when you actually become an adult and you actually get to hear the words of why you left, it wasn't so heartbreaking. But it was hard leaving my family and leaving everybody and coming down here. But those things are what created me. And, moving to Texas, I think in general, the reason why I go back to back with Louisiana teams and Texas teams is because when I first moved down here, man, I was an outcast, dude. From Louisiana, I had an accent. People treated me differently. It was different, and it was an adjustment. But again, it was all in the come up of being an adolescent in the 80s, and then a teenager in the 90s. And yeah, man, I love Texas. That's pretty much the foundation of what I built so far in life has been here. And I call Houston home now. And yeah, man, we're here to stay. We're here to stay.
What jumped off musically for you, or like how did that begin for you?
Building computers, man. 2003, I got a job at Gateway, and I always loved rapping. So I have old karaoke tapes. I'll go back there first. First rap I wrote was whack as fuck, right? And I wrote it because I listened to Regulators, and I just thought that was such a dope ass song. I was like, man, I want to rap, and nobody thought I could rap. And the first song I wrote, I remember it because it was trash. It was like, they called me DWD, but not Darkwing Duck. like super trash, but I would never forget those boys because they laughed at me like, oh, no, you can't rap. And I was like, all right, that wasn't it. But I'm going to go back to the drawing board. And I was like, maybe 13 at that time, man. It was like 90, maybe like 93, 94, 12 or 13 at the time. And yeah, man, I was like, you know what, man, fuck it. I just kind of got back into it. Bone was a big influence for me. And I remember I wrote my first fast rap, and I remembered it. Like, I read it every day in school. Like, it was in the back of that notebook, and the teacher be talking, and I just started reading it. And then I learned how to do the twist. And I was just walking down the street rapping with the homie one day, and he was just like, who is that? I was like, that's me. He was like, nigga, that ain't you. I was like, nigga, that's me, bro. Boom, I had to show him the pad. He was like, bro, that was actually really dope. So I built up the confidence from that, right? So in that story was the failure, and then the success of being like, hey, okay, that was actually pretty good because I practiced and I worked on it. So musically for me, the way I got into production and even taking things seriously was through Gateway Computer. When I was working up there, built my own computer. Then I built my own mobile studio. Hence, that's why, I would say advanced level. Won't say I'm a pro at recording, but definitely advanced level when it comes down to it, because I really taught myself from the roots up on how to become a producer, an artist, and some sort of management as well. And shout out to Texas T, man, was one of my guys and mentors who helped me grow, because I was stubborn. Believe it or not, like, I'm open to suggestions and building up off ideas now, but back then I knew everything, everything. That's why I don't put too much pressure on a lot of these little kids when they're just foul at the mouth. Now, actions are two different things, but it is what it is,
So how we go from the hood of Baton Rouge to IT? Like, was that something you were always into, even like growing up where you grew up, or was that something you stumbled onto and got interested in? How do you go from hood to computers?
So and I'll take it back to some of those other stories, and even go when I was younger, right? Like, the VCR would break, and my mama would be like, fix it. And I would like take it apart, wipe it down with some alcohol. Did nothing magical though, but even taking things apart and knowing how to put them back together, I guess, I thought that stuff was easy. So I used to mess around with all the electronics, my PlayStations, the Nintendo, like all of that stuff, dude. Like, I used to break these things down and then put them back together. That's when I learned you can't fix headphones. because I had a short in there, and I was like, well, I'll just splice the wire, tighten the wire back up. No, it's a couple different components in there, and it's more than one wire. I learned these things by trial and error. So, going from like street life was going back into actually, working at Gateway, and I was actually into both at the time. And when I learned how to navigate through a computer and break a computer and chop it all down, at some point of living street life, even as a kid, I knew I could never do this forever. I can't hustle forever. I don't want to hustle forever. I dropped out of school when I was about 16, 17 years old. I would say 17 completely. And I told myself by 25, if I haven't did the things in my mind that I thought I can accomplish in street life, then I was going to do something else, and I was going to figure out what I wanted to do. And I originally thought I was going to be a mechanic. But one of my friends gave me a chance of working at Gateway, and I was the inventory manager. But they were like, hey, man, we're going to buy these motherboards, man. We're going to build computers. I was like, I'm not building no computer. They're like, man, just buy the parts, and I'm going to tell you how to do it. And sure enough, man, we did that. Intel had a blowout sale where they used to sell motherboards with the Windows operating system, and you just buy your shell and you build the computer. And, you know, sure enough, with their assistance and help, I did it, got it done. It was a milestone into me transitioning into IT, because that was about 03. I didn't go back to school until 2006 because I had just a bad year, not even for myself, but like some of my friends were going to jail, they were dying. I'm talking about a rapid rate, like every month was something in drama, and I was about to be a father of not one, but 2 kids at this time. So I just had to make sure I didn't follow the same footsteps that my father did, you know. And again, I talked the 80s, and I'll full circle that of him probably being more or less a product to the environment. That's why I say I got to see it crumble and see it fail. And when I got my mother's door kicked in, it changed my life and made me want to not put my kids or put my family through the same things, the same struggles that he did. So I transitioned into just trying to become a career person.
So, besides Pac, what inspired you musically to say, like, I'm finna really get serious about this and you know, invest in it and really, you know, because I can imagine, like, you know, that's not easy to say, I'm gonna put on, I'm gonna jump off and I'm gonna actually.
Yeah, well, the motivation came from Master P. That's why I told you he was in my top 5, because around that time he was a voice of Louisiana, because, you know, I still have that bias in me as well, even though I grew up SUC, love them, like whatever, you know, a lot of H-Town stuff, really big fan of it. But I saw somebody coming from an hour away from where I came from transition into street life, into a business world. So I'm thinking to myself, like, man, he wasn't the best rapper in the world, but what he was saying was real. And that motivated me to be like, man, I'm saying more than that. And I'm doing more than that, you know, of having my own voice and my own something to say. Because I go back and I still have all my old rhymes I wrote back then. No bullshit. They're in a big ass binder, and my wife's like, throw it away. And I'm like, no, man, this is like history. Like, and I was deep back then, dude. Like I was on the level of my music when I was younger was way deeper now that I'm older. But my mindset that I'm older is a lot deeper than when I was younger, man. But yeah, Master P definitely was one of those number one influences, because he was a voice like mine, coming from, like I said, the same struggles in the community that I know Louisiana is.
So what was the switch in, like, when you said like the old you was more deeper in your rhymes than now? Like how would you describe yourself now, and what's changed for you?
So what's changed for me and how I am now is like I'm actually more understanding as a person, like I said, and I actually can listen to 2 sides of a tale. I can deal with people not agreeing with things that I agree with. I can talk to a Trump supporter and not be mad at him, you know what I mean? Because I want to understand why you support, and we'll have a conversation of rebuttals and things like that. You know, at the time of me being younger and being deeper, I really didn't talk that much, believe it or not. That's a fact. Like everybody that knows, I used to get girls because I was the quiet one, but I was always the smart one when I did have something to say, because it wasn't about overloading my mouth and just being like the normal. I never got there. Like, oh yeah, I got 100 bands, I just did this and that. I'm just the one in the back with the most money, just being quiet, observing everybody, and I always talk about being a watcher, because I was a watcher, because I wanted to observe everybody, because it gave me a sense of survival, in the sense that I could tell when someone talked too much and too fast. I can't trust him that much, and these intuitions became a part of me, to where I can see the aura around you. You know what I mean? I can see the green, the purple, the red, and I can sense that energy off of good and bad people. And yeah, man, yeah, like it's believe it or not, like that shit is real. Follow your instincts when it comes down to that stuff, man, because it allowed me to transition into being more outspoken. But when I do talk, I wanted to make sure that I have something to say, you know. And musically, I think it's about adaptability, where I put projects out where I'm giving like a 444 feel to it, but it may not get the response that if I put out a project with a NBA YoungBoy Kevin Gates feel to it, because I understand where hip hop is at musically.
So how do you balance that, like, for doing music you don't want to do?
You have to realize sometimes you don't do music that you want to do in order to cross over to the mainstream. You have to make music for the masses. So I never wrote songs about women for 15 years. I was rapping, you know, at one point. And then as I started to listen to the music and it became sort of the wave, you had to kind of be able to adapt to that and not stay the same, because you stay the same, then you're never going to evolve, you're never going to grow as a person. And the crazy part was I was always in a relationship and faithful in my relationships, to the point where when I heard my friends who wasn't rap about that type of stuff, I'm just like, you don't even do that. I do this type of stuff, but I didn't like. I couldn't tap into that. Like a lot of these old heads with the new gen, like they're mad because they're not blending in. But there's a way you can adapt, like a Jay-Z, where he's still saying stuff, but then he'll kind of take those styles or take those beat formats and run with them a little bit. You know what I mean? So it's about, I guess, being submissive to what's going on around you, and not be like, okay, no, this is the way, like bring back real New York hip hop. You know, like I think that's an understatement, because there's a time where they had the light and then we were clouded, you know, and getting no shine down south. So I like some of the new music, but most of it I don't. But in order to get their ear, you got to get a little melodic sometimes, you know.
So how do you, like, balance that, though? Like, how can, I guess, like, you know, when you consider an artist real.
Okay.
Because I honestly believe that what you just stated, as far as sometimes you do have to submit to what your audience wants, because at some point you don't want to rap for free. And at that point you're rapping for money, then you're no longer being you. You're starting to, it's just like a job at that point, you know what I mean? Like you don't, I mean, until you get to the point, I guess, with like Jay-Z level, to where you can like cough and say 2 words and you'll go platinum just because your name is Jay-Z. But for people who actually, you know, rap for a living, like, you know, so I guess, like, you know, are there real rappers then? You know, when you add the concept that you just made, are there real rappers?
Yes, if you can create a sound or have a sound that's different, you know, because Jeezy came out. I hated Jeezy when he first came out. I love Jeezy now. Shout out to Jeezy, but I didn't like Jeezy when he first came out, because it was almost in that new gen and that new wave, to where I was like, man, he ain't really saying that. There was no bars in there. He wasn't really kicking anything besides just like the trap talk and the dope talk. But then if you really listen to what he put out in some of those other projects, You know, when I became a fan, like at the recession was when Jeezy kind of woke up a little bit and was talking about what was going on with the times, but still keeping that cocaine dope flow going as well. So I think he's a perfect example when, at least when I became a fan, of being able to adapt and change those two styles up, because a lot of times, like I said, you're not going to make music necessarily that you want to make, and there's no such thing as a real artist, because a real artist is a real, a real artist is actually the adaptability and the change. Like Pac came out on some Black Panther shit, then he got shot up and became this Tupac Machiavelli guy that some people love, some people hate. It was circumstances and the situations that he went through in life that kind of molded him into who he is. And I think that's true in all aspects of life. Like we start off one way, we don't have to finish that way. That's why I was holding out hope for 6ix9ine. That's why I'm saying, just because he started that way doesn't necessarily mean he has to finish that shit that way. Because Ho started off cocaine dope boy flow, and now we got this 444 smashing shit on Meek Mill album ass nigga, man. Like, you know, and I like I said, it's no such thing as real rapper, because, you know, Drake cries a lot and talks about women a lot and goes through that. I don't feel that way. But obviously millions and millions of people do, you know, like they tap into that. They miss their exes like that. They want to sing about them and, you know, whatever. To show the softer side of yourself is not considered to be fake, because on the new Jeezy project, he did like 3 cuts for the women, which he never did.
But doesn't the fact that he actually has hits, though, count? Like, I mean, you can talk about saying he cries or he talks about females, but the songs actually jam. Yeah. So it's not like when you're listening to a song, you're singing a song, you're like, man, he's still talking about a female. Now you're like, actually, this must be jam. So it's like
some of the songs,
So it's like, you know, like you said, if it's selling,
yes. And I think that's what he's more or less like, a pop artist anyway. Like, the reason I like Drake, and I thought Drake was really, really dope when he first came out. When I bought the albums, I was just disappointed because he wasn't rapping. He was doing all that singing shit, and I just didn't like to sing. I don't really like too many rappers that sing, man. Like, it's just not my thing. Musically, it just puts me to sleep. Like, it's not the amp stuff. Like, if you gave me a choice of 2 Chainz and Drake, I'm probably going to jam 2 Chainz 99.9% of them times, unless I was in my feelings. And then you could put the Drake stuff on. But I think I guess my answer to that would be Drake is more like mood music, right? Like, if I'm in a mood for that type of feel, versus an everyday artist for me, you know?
Who was an everyday artist for you?
Just spoke 2 Chainz, definitely Big Crit, UGK or Bun B even. I can listen to Bun every day. Of course, Pop. Big can be an everyday artist, although I didn't appreciate him until after he died. That's life. That's how shit happens sometimes, because I was on the Tupac side of that whole thing. And I don't know why we felt like we had to be on one side or the other back then, but that was the 90s for you, though.
I think it's human nature, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, no matter what, you just like, you have to pick a side for some reason, you know? Like, if you, with football team, you have to hate these people, like, you know?
Yeah.
So, I think it's human nature that you have to...
You just side with one way or the other, you know? But it's weird, because growing up, I was like a friend of the nerds. I was a friend of the rock and roll guys, the Africans, the Mexicans. Like, I've always been friends of everybody. But when it came down to things of such as music or sports or something like that, you're right. Like, we felt like we had to pick that one side. But there's a lot of artists, man, that are everyday listen for me. A lot of it is 90s shit, though, man. We go through my phone right now, you know. I got my Eazy-E collection, man. I got my Master P collection. I got my Ice Cube collection. Like, those guys, I literally can listen to those albums all day. Like, Common's a person that I can listen to rap back to back. Like I got through the Meek album today. And as soon as it was over with, I went ahead and switched to my NBA Youngboy. And I listened to his album, and then I switched it off of that and went into another album or whatever I was listening to at the time. So that's for them, like, as far as me, an everyday thing, like, man, I keep it on a random repeat most of the time, because it's a collection of the music that I grew up with. And maybe it's more sentimental to me to listen to E40 than it is to go out and open my ears to some of the newer guys, you know? It just doesn't. It's not, it's not my era, and I'm okay with that. I'm fine with that.
So how you get involved in podcasts, man? And what started that?
Yeah, man. Well, I talk too much anyway, as y'all probably can see. Like, that's just my thing, man. Like, but not only wanting to do a podcast, but definitely want to make something fun, normal conversation. I've been at parties before and knew nobody at the party. Like, there with my freaking Snow Bunny and all her friends. And and this is no cap, no tooting my own horn, but like, when I get involved in the conversations, because I am open to talk about anything, like I always ended up with like half of the party around me having a conversation with people that I don't know, but they can ask me questions that they probably couldn't ask other people and me not feel a way about it, like if that makes any sense. Like, so I feel like, one, I have something to say. Two, it's a great way to release a lot of things that you have to say and try to pass on some of the unwritten rules that we grew up with, which I kind of did last week. That's why I was called attention was the new crack on the podcast, is the new crack, because it's addictive. And like, I want to have some sort of message behind some of the stuff and not just slam the young generation, even though, again, it's not something that I'm 100% into. But I understand, because, like I said, my transition from being a D-boy to IT, to a father, from a boy to a father, I would say a boy to a baby daddy to a father, you know what I mean? Even that road wasn't a straight road for me as well, because I had a kid when I was a boy. I was a baby daddy trying to figure it all out. And now I consider myself to be more of a father. So it's just growing with the times with that, man. So I wanna put that back into the universe. Even the 2.0 with the friends, we sit down and we just cut up and we just have a good time. The show with you guys, I think that I actually love that show because of the differences of opinions. And me and my friends grew up together, so that shit's almost like Trey always called it, the late night after hours, where we're just sitting there talking the shit, and just voicing opinions and having an opinion on things, because a lot of people think like you, a lot of people think like me, a lot of people may think like Trey or Pat, and I think that it opens it up for dialogue. And being in front of the camera and the mic it's just second nature for me.
So let's dive into politics real quick. I know we've had some especially after show conversations and different times, but like, where does your passion for like voting come from?
So
like, how, and I mean not like passion for you voting, but advocating for everyone to exercise their right. Like,
man, so being I would say a straight A student, but also hood at the same time. Like, my mom didn't really play that shit. The reason why I was hood was because I grew up in the hood, but the reason I was a straight A student because my mom always taught me, to do my best and try to motivate people and tap into things that make you uncomfortable. So, and I also want to teach people that it's a learning experience, for one, to vote and to know what you're voting for. I want, like Just said, don't just go out there punching random ballots, right? Like, I want people to know what you're voting for and know that actually does make a difference. My passion comes for seeing people complaining about the way something is, but not realizing that 9 times out of 10, a bill or a law is what's inhibiting you from smoking weed legally. But then the guy that's saying, hey man, vote for me, I'll make it legal. I don't even smoke weed and I'll still vote for that shit. If it was a proposition, I would still vote for it, because I understand what it can mean to the economy, then my friends that do it won't get in trouble for it. They won't be getting locked up behind it. You know, it goes to being in crooked court systems with the judges and being treated unfairly. Having my friends being treated unfairly by the cops or by the judges, and yeah, the cops as well. Because you vote on, you know, constable precincts and all kind of things, and getting the right people in office is actually should be passionate to everyone. You know, when they're paying $3-4 at the pump, then they want to cry and complain. You know, like, oh, that doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. Like, man, I think I matter. So I want you to feel like you matter. My first time voting was 2000, man. George Bush versus Gore. You know, got cheated, got robbed. Could have just been like, you know what, man, screw that. I'm never voting again. It's set up. Went down that conspiracy road, right? Didn't do that. Voted again, voted again, voted again. Still voting to this day. You know, almost 18 years later, damn it, to the date. You know, so I want people to wake up. You have a phone on. You have a phone on you. So you know, and that's why I wanted to rebuttal so bad when I was recording that, because I was like, man, you have a phone in front of you. So to tell me people don't know how to use a computer is a load of bullshit. Because if I fall and bust my ass right now, it'll be 4,500 memes just like that. If you wanted to go, oh, Kevin Hart's coming into town. You know how to Google that shit and buy some tickets, don't you? So you know how to the information's there. It's not about typing in on a computer or having the internet anymore. I would say the majority of adults in America have access to the internet, the library. There's so many different ways to get the information that you need, and to make sure that you're voting for the right thing is actually beneficial to us all. You know, that I've already spoke on it before. I won't go too much into detail, but, you know, going back into the history books, like my mother made me read about Malcolm X. I had to learn about Martin Luther King. I had to learn about the Civil Rights Movement. Every time one of those documentaries came on where, you know, it was about JFK and the Civil Rights Movement and all this stuff like this, like my mama made me sit down and watch that, bro. So I understand what the politics do. I understand the way the politics move. And I just want everybody else to have some sort of passion. You know, the fact that Ted Cruz just won again, and I think only 13% of registered black voters went to vote. That's why I was like, if this nigga was like, I'm gonna give everybody a pair of free Jordans, you come vote, that line would have been full. Well, it would have been 50%. And that's not a knock on my people, but that's saying that when we get something initially, we run the vote. When we don't get things initially, then we like, it doesn't matter. They gonna do what they want to do anyway. But I mean, those are the consequences, man. Those are the consequences. If we didn't, who was that? Was it the woman mayor that we had that made the drug class, and where who did that? Because see, that's monumental to where if you get caught with some weed, you could just go take a drug class, right? Just imagine if she never got voted in the office. So everybody that got pulled over and you having a bad day and you got pulled over and they found some weed in your car, you would have been locked up. You would have had a misdemeanor. You would have had to be on probation. There would have been more money to the system. So if she wasn't in office and the right people didn't get her into office, then you would be fucked right now. So there is a point to voting, and people should be passionate about it, if not even for you, for your kids. So that way, sometime in the near future or distant future, man, that they're not getting screwed over out here and being caught up in a system that's not designed for us. I visit my homie twice a month in jail while he's fighting his case, and when I look around that room, man, it's nothing but minorities. 99% of the time, nothing but minorities. And the crazy part about it, I don't see your homies. I don't see none of these cats. You know who I see? Women. I see your mothers. I see pregnant women. I see women with babies. I see girlfriends. I see 80% of that 90 is women, man. Like, because those are the ones who hold it down. And like I said, man, we need to get out of those systems. And it breaks my heart because I know the design of the system, but we can't beat the system from the inside, man. We beat it by going to the ballot box, man, and dropping those ballots in there. And that's what drives and thrives me, the passion of being a watcher and observing these laws get passed and nobody give a fuck about it. It's crazy.
Yeah. But yeah, man, we go all night on this, and like I said, we definitely gonna have to come back.
Oh yeah, we definitely will, man. Tonight y'all got Bruce 3 Roy, man.
So hey. Man, Let's talk about what's coming up in your future musically, and then talk about like what kind of projects you got coming up with your podcast.
Okay, we definitely musically. I got Dope Talk coming out, man, and it's a blend. It's me and Six Shooter, Big D Rose, man. Shout out to him. Black Label Music. My guy Black Matter produced the majority of the album, but yeah, man, it's a blend of new school, old school, you know. So it's some melodic stuff on there. We get into a little street trap type deal, you know. We got a little bit of everything up on the album that's coming out, man. This one here is for the people. Like this isn't like the 333 where it was just like I made that for me, but then I made that for us as well as people, just to kind of give them a little bit of that. So look out for that. That's coming early next year. We've already started mixing and stuff. We'll start shooting some videos and doing promotions and things like that to get them out there. As far as the podcast, you know, 2.0, 1.0, sit down. You know, we got the short box, man. We got the lineup is coming. So the aim though is to become more than just podcasts though. So we're trying to get in music videos, commercials, some short films. Initially is what I want to start off with after I master this music video thing. Just training myself in the arts really. And the bottom line is to become a production company as a whole. Always press record. AlwaysPressRecord.com. Check out the content. Watch the growth. You can go back and look into the old podcast and already see the growth and where we're trying to channel and take this to. It's gonna take some work, but that's the overall goal and projection is to become not just known for podcasts, but we want to be known for actual production as well. So I mean, I'm excited. I'm excited to see your growth. I'm excited so we can grow together. And I think as the weeks go by and everything falls into place, we'll just keep building up from there and try to get the brand to the next level. That's the ultimate goal. It's bigger than just myself. It's about everybody contributing, everybody elevating at the same time, you know. Because, like I said, I could do a podcast by myself and talk for like 9 hours. Like, I don't want to do that. I don't want you to do that. You wouldn't watch it. You wouldn't support me. You wouldn't support me.
I dislike before I watch the video. I have the thumbs down there.
Yeah, man. Yeah, we'll definitely do an update as we go along, man. Because you know it's always a pleasure to sit down and talk to you as we grow, and we have more stuff. And, and more content and just
different
more
location.
Yeah, different location. Yeah, man. That's fun. Yeah, that's one.
Yes,
that's one of my aims too, man. Like,
it's gonna be fun.
Yeah, it's all about baby steps, man. And right now, like I said, we're building a brand. So as long as we continue to work together and keep everything moving, man, I believe 100% we'll get where we need to be, and we'll look back at these videos and not only laugh but also embellish it and remember where we came from and how we started, you know, from webcams to, you know, HD. Facts.
All right, man. Well, sure, it's definitely late and
yes, sir.
Both got the munchies. So
I know I'm gonna fuck too. Probably just Whataburger when I get out of here.
What?
I will give you all my top 5 of this. Pop, 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 pop. That's 5. No, man, it's been a pleasure though. We'll definitely sit down and do this again, man. Bruce Three Roy, man, in the building. To sit down, man.
For sure.
You already know what it is, man. Young Triples, man. Planet Pert on every platform, man.
Yes, sir.
Facebook,
yes, sir.
One word. Instagram, Snapchat, also Cash App. Planet Pert. Go ahead and drop me 5, man. Just put a little something on my little, you know what I'm saying, on my books, man. Like I'm locked up, man. Nah, it's all good, man. Appreciate you, bro.
All right, for sure, man.
All right.